Hi guys, I just wanted to share this video of myself, and you're probably wondering why there's two of me wearing the same hat. This is the video recorded by somebody else during my talk at the Niviuk Wide Open this summer, and it touches on the EC, Electronic Conspicuity for paragliding, and I think it's quite relevant to what is happening right now with the consultation that was raised by CEA in conjunction with the EC devices in the UK. So some of the parts of the video I actually edited just now with some of the additions related to this consultation. But first, I think I'll let you watch the video, and I may intervene with some additions if they're applicable as the presentation goes along. But sit back and enjoy it. Hi guys, afternoon. So electronic conspicuity, you say. I'll refer to this by EC. It'll shorten the presentation a little. We're going to talk about this, how we use it for paragliding, and a little bit touch on period track, because those two topics are quite related to each other. So let's begin. So the EC, electronic conspicuity, is used to broadcast the positioning signal from the aircraft so that other pilots, other aircrafts can see you on the map. And also it's used by ground stations also to point you on the map, your location. The goal is basically making aircraft visible to each other, so the paragliders and other type of aviation that flies around us. The key terms that we use in electronic conspicuity is FLARM, FANET, not so much ADS-B. ADS-B is just about bigger planes, jet planes. And pilot aware used to be used a lot, but not that much anymore. But yes, there's still some around. But for us, there's differences in devices. Obviously, for paragliders, they need to be lightweight. They need to consume little power, not big batteries, and it will be nice to be affordable. So the way it's used, like the diagram shows, the signal is sent directly from the device that paraglider carries on his dash, and received by a flying sailplane or other paraglider, and then they can see being notified. So in case of sailplanes, they've got this alarming system, which then alert them visually and by sound that they're approaching some flying object. But it's done in a very short distance. So this is called the collision avoidance. Typically, the collision avoidance first level of alarm is 20 seconds before the impact. So in our case, I don't think we can use that system in paragliding because there's little we can do in 20 seconds. Yes, we could try, but I think sailplanes get bigger chance to avoid us in that amount of time. The second level will sound about 13 seconds before collision, and then 5 seconds is the final warning. That's how it works. So, but we're not using it. We're using it for other purposes. Is again, become visible to other aviation, and also hopefully see other paragliders to take advantage of that sort of technology. Let's see what the next slide is. Yeah, so these are the reasons, kind of highlighting the reasons why we need it. Okay, so first of all, is being put on the map. So kind of tracking facility and search and rescue consequently. So if the position was known of the pilot before some kind of accident, then it's easier for emergency services to find us. Improve our situational awareness. So we can see what other aviation flying around us, not necessarily could be visible by eye or not straight away. Of course, we're meant to be looking first and then looking at the device second. But what I find more and more is something that I can see on the device, I can't actually see right away by my naked eye. But when I start looking closely, then I can see something is flying, like a sailplane under the clouds, or another paraglider heading my way, something like that. So this is example screenshot from the Exit Track app, but many other apps also present flying aviation on the map. It may or may not be easy to see, depends on how the page is set up. And the third point is maybe take advantage of this technology because it sends a lot of information, not just position of the pilot, it sends also the climb rate, the direction they're going, things like that. So we could use it to our advantage, for example, to see how well the other pilot's doing a couple of kilometers away from us. Are they climbing well? So maybe adjust our course accordingly. So it's not necessarily safety, but it's more of efficiency of our flight. We could use to our advantage. Okay, how does it all work? So the way we get onto the maps is through the OGN network. There's no mobile connection involved in it whatsoever. So the specific topic I'm talking about here, where the FLARM and FANET and the radio signals, that's basically being picked up by the OGN network. And I will explain a bit more the differences. So the beauty of OGN has been set up by volunteers. It's free to use, and we also take advantage. So it's been set up originally for gliders, for sailplanes, but now it's also used by paragliders. And those stations are dotted around quite pretty much everywhere in Europe or UK. In other countries, the coverage may not be as good. But yeah, places like UK or Europe is covered very well. I think there's a map. So this map shows how well the areas are covered, and you can see UK pretty much is good. Europe also very good. Moving towards east, it's not so much case. So, but anyway, I think we kind of again take advantage of this and use that technology to advantage.
So Vlad, what are those colours representing?
So
the blue
dots are the stations themselves, where they're placed. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a zooming out to see where exactly they're placed, but you can see that quite dense. But each station has quite wide coverage, which is represented by orange or yellow colors. And typically, a range of one station is pretty big because, aviation flies quite high. We tend to fly higher, and that expands the coverage quite well. So what I see, for example, from a typical cross-country flight in the UK, now I've got tools to measure these things, a pilot flying, let's say, at 5,000 feet can be picked up by a ground station 120 kilometers away. And there are more stations closer, but the longest distance is 120 using one of those devices.
Line of sight, right?
It's always line of sight, absolutely, but the height helps in this case. So the higher we are, the line of sight expands massively. I mean, obviously mountains will block that, but in the UK, not that many.
At this point, the question was asked, who usually installs those OGN stations, ground stations, and where are they normally located? And I'm trying to answer this question at this point.
It's typically done by aerodromes, airports, gliding clubs. They always have a station on premise. Well, first of all, for serving the gliders, and obviously everybody else.
Like, can you bounce off of other people's FLARMs, or does it need to have an aerial?
Right, yeah, I was going to come on to that later. So the differences between FANET and FLARM is that the FANET retransmits the signals. So it has the ability to rebroadcast a signal received from one pilot further down. So that expands the range. So if you are not in very good position, sort of blocked by the mountains, but your device is sending signal in FANET, other pilot higher up will receive and retransmit, a bit like what we're doing here with the radio. Somebody will repeat the message. So the FANET does similar type of role. So the higher up pilot will rebroadcast, and hopefully this will get a bit further down. So FANET tend to have larger range than FLARM, because FLARM doesn't have that capability.
You mentioned that the emergency services could use this. Do they actually have the capability? use this?
Yeah, so they can utilize various maps like glider, SIG the glider, glidernet.de to check the last position of the airplane. There are also other tools like search and rescue. So they could just put your device ID, and it will bring up the last known position, your time, and where was it, and show it on the map. So PureTrack has this functionality as well. But the PureTrack is fairly new. I mean, those other maps existed long time ago. But PureTrack is more user-friendly. I think it becomes de facto now, at least in paragliding world and gliding world. It's become. FLARM can be received by ground stations, no problem. But the FLARM only point to point, so it doesn't get retransmitted. So one aircraft can receive the other, but it does not rebroadcast further. That's it, point to point.
That's FLARM.
That's FLARM, yeah.
And FANET is rebroadcast.
Rebroadcasting, yeah. They only rebroadcast it, I think, a couple of times. So there is an element which is counting how many times it already has been rebroadcasted. When it reaches the limit of, I think, two hops, it will stop. There's no point. I mean, it could go really far. And I think there has to be some kind of limit to avoid that situation. So FLARM was designed for collision avoidance predominantly, and hence the name FLARM. So it's calculating constantly aircraft's position and also trajectory. It's traveling and predicts potential impact with that aircraft. It's a very complex protocol. It's also proprietary to FLARM as a company. It's mainly used by sailplanes, and it's not used by paragliders as far as I know.
It should.
Sorry?
I mean, the FLARM is used by paragliders.
It's used, but not for the purpose of collision avoidance. So there's collision avoidance is more, like I said, specific. There's 20 seconds before impact warnings. We don't get that. But we can contribute. So if we fly with FLARM device, we send out the signal, which helps sailplanes to know where we are and where we're going, and it will create an alarm on their side, but we do not see any kind of alarming.
Yes, I mean,
we're just sending out signal, right?
Since I use FLARM, the glider, they stay
away.
Minimum 1 kilometer away.
Yeah.
And before I bought it, I had a near collision with a glider.
There you go.
So it's a good safety aspect in Switzerland, where you have a lot of plastic flying Saturday and Sunday.
So, sorry, can I ask a stupid question? So, if I'm flying in an area that apparently has no coverage on the OG network map, but I have line of sight with a sailplane, will he be able to see me or not?
Yes, yeah.
He will?
Yeah.
Okay.
So point to point will always work, and that's kind of primary reason. So the OGN network is more to do, so that this, the term is tracking, so where your position is placed on the map, that's where OGN comes in, right? But for other aircrafts, primarily they receive the signal directly, so they don't need that map, to be honest.
That's a bit more reassuring.
There's also variations where planes may also use electronic map, which is fed from the internet, and they can see other traffic, but that's it's not going to help for the collision avoidance, because the information coming through the internet slow down. It could take.
At this point, guys, I just wanted to cover some other protocols which weren't mentioned in the presentation. ADSL. So it's a recent European standard which was introduced by European Aviation Safety Agency, and it's intended for light power aircrafts or light aircrafts and general aviation. The ADS part stands for Automatic Dependent Surveillance, and the L letter is light. It's a derivative from ADS-B, and uses the subset of features from ADS-B, but really it's nothing like it in terms of interoperability. It's not compatible with ADS-B because the frequency it operates on is different. It's 868 megahertz, as opposed to 1090 megahertz. So ADS-B, as I said, was intended for lightweight aviation. It's not intended for IFR flying, just like any other protocols we know of, FLARM or FANET, etc. So as we know now, today, a few manufacturers like Exitracer, Skytrax, and Audi already introduced ADSL into their firmware. So it's just a matter of enabling this feature after the firmware upgraded, and off you go, you ADSL ready. At the moment, it's not really adopted widely in the UK. No one made that move first. But let's see, let's watch this space, and we may see more and more of it being used. So ADS-B, on the other hand, is a system that is used for air traffic control and surveillance for the large aircrafts that tend to fly at higher altitudes. It is mandatory for those aircrafts to use this system. It requires quite sophisticated antenna installation, and the power transmitted is 200 watts for the large aircrafts, which is, you know, considerably higher in comparison to milliwatts that we tend to operate with on the smaller devices that we use. With that comes a bit of a concern, because if we start using ADS-B out transmit, being very close to the transmitting antennas and not being able to install the antennas properly far away from the body, it may be a little bit harmful. So the currently manufactured device, which is Sky Echo 2, operates at 20 watts, which is a lot lower than bigger planes, but it's still considerably higher than smaller devices that we use. Also added the third panel here describing about ADS-B in and out, which is basically ADS-B in receiving signals from other aircrafts. And that feature is fairly available and cheap to install. Doesn't require any kind of sophisticated antennas or anything like that. It can operate from the small battery, and it will give us the traffic awareness of you know, any other larger aircrafts around. ADS-B out, on the other hand, is a different ball game. Requires licensing by CA or other authorities. It requires proper installation and certification of the install. So the antennas might be you know, slightly complicated to install, and smaller antennas may not be appropriate, and if they blocked or hidden by equipment or body in our sort of paragliding usage, then the actual usage of the whole device becomes not sufficient enough. So at this point, I think we'll end this video, because it's getting a bit longer. The presentation went a bit longer, but I think I'm going to make another video specifically just covering the protocols and the other options which we might have. But anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully it was useful.